Hey guys, I want to share a couple of recent conversations that we've had with various real estate agents when it comes to condos. And just as a reminder, remember condominiums themselves from a lending perspective are treated different than townhouses, single family residences, single family attached residences. And so the process from a lending standpoint is unique to the property type itself. That's important when you're taking a listing of a condo. So I have some recommendations that can be helpful based on these stories. One of which was I recently had a listing agent who had a condo already listed. The seller owned the property free and clear, and the listing agent had a buyer lead that didn't have his down payment funds put together just yet. So she was thinking maybe that the seller would do a seller carryback and wanted to know if we could pre-approve the buyer because they would do a short-term note, a short-term seller carry, allowing him enough time to be able to get his down payment funds, get financing, take out the seller, and then move on. Well, my biggest question to her was, we absolutely can pre-qualify the buyer, but tell me about the condominium itself. Because even though he may be eligible for a home loan, he may not be eligible for a home loan on that particular condo because the condo may or may not be warrantable. And so when I say the word warrantable, it really means, does it meet the agency guidelines? Is it eligible for FHA, VA, Fannie Mae, or Freddie Mac? That's what we're looking at because most loans are going to be placed with one of those outlets. So in this conversation, she was like, gosh, that's a great question. I have no idea. And it just occurred to me that from a listing agent standpoint, there are some best practices that I think could be helpful to you to kind of know what you're getting into and best set that seller up for success. One of which, the best thing you can do is talk to the seller about reaching out to the HOA, the property management company, and requesting the condo certification. The condo cert is what the lender's going to use to be able to determine if that loan is eligible for conventional financing. We're also going to determine whether that loan is eligible for an FHA spot approval. I'm going to talk about that in a second. So if the seller is willing to do that, it's a couple $100. Get that condo questionnaire and get it to your lender that knows and works in the condo space. Because then from that perspective, we're going to review the information and tell you, hey, this is eligible for FHA spot approval. This is eligible for VA. This is eligible for Fannie and Freddie, maybe on a full review, a limited review, but we're going to give you the intel that you need to really be able to not only ensure that MLS is accurate, but to kind of have the information that you need to be able to have conversations with buyers and their agents as offers start to come in. So in this particular buyer situation, he was eligible for a home loan, but just not on that particular condo because that condo, based on the initial information, and again, this seller did not want to pay the couple $100 to get the certification. I mean, it's a $400,000 sale. I would want to make sure I'm exploring all of my options as a seller and ensure that I could position buyers to be able to get financing. But based on the information that we could see, it was a very small complex. There were no recent sales that had any financing in the last 12 months, which is another great indicator, kind of like a self-check you guys can do. Go into the condo project and do a search and determine, have there been any sales, closed transactions in the last 12 months? If they had financing, you can drill down and find out what kind of financing it was. If there's Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac financing, great. That means there's a probability that that project is going to be warrantable. Also, keep in mind, and I'm going to include in the description, the links that you can actually go direct to FHA and VA to see if the condominium is approved. And so they're a little bit different than conventional because they both have respectively different condo approval lists. Now with VA, if it's on there and it's eligible, you're good. With FHA, if it's on there and eligible, the lender's still probably going to do a little double checking to ensure that the project is still eligible. But let's say with FHA, if the buyer's FHA cannot go conventional for whatever reason, it doesn't mean that you can't go FHA financing. FHA does allow for a single unit approval, which means we're going to treat that just like we would a conventional loan. We're going to get the condo questionnaire. We're going to determine if the condo project meets the requirements for FHA. And if that's the case, we may be able to allow to kind of do an exception, if you will, even though it's not on the FHA approved condo site. If it meets the criteria, we can do the exception internally as a company, and we can move forward with that financing. We had another conversation with two different agents. One was the listing agent, one was the buyer's agent, and they believed that this condo project was non-warrantable. And if you know anything about non-warrantable financing, it completely changes the terms of the loan. There's generally more money required. It's a higher risk loan because it doesn't meet agency guidelines. It could mean fewer buyers on that project. So both of the agents came to us and just said, hey, we have a willing seller and a willing buyer, but this buyer only wants to put 5% down, and we don't believe the condo project is approved. The first thing we do is we're going to go into Fannie Mae's system to see, is this condo project approved? And guess what? It was. It was on Fannie Mae's project approval list, which means we can move forward. This buyer could do 5% down, and we close the loan. So again, I think as agents, it's difficult to maneuver this type of property type when it comes to financing. Know we're here as a resource. If you guys have condos that are that you're going to be taking the listings or are currently listed, your listing, or if you have buyers that are looking at condos, they're a unique property type. And having a strategic lending team there that can help you along the way is vital. If you guys have questions or we can be of service, just reach out.